A true story of family, betrayal, and the price of silence. I still remember the exact moment when I realized that 37 years of love and sacrifice meant absolutely nothing to my own mother. It wasn't when she avoided my eyes during the meeting with the lawyer. It wasn't even when she signed the house over to my brother, Kevin, with a flourish that seemed almost triumphant. No, it was 3 days later when I overheard her on the phone with her sister, laughing about how I'd actually believed I would inherit half the family home someday. "Sarah's always been so naive," she said, unaware I was standing just outside the kitchen door. "But she's useful. Who else would have given up their life to take care of me all these years?" I didn't slam doors. I didn't scream or cry or beg for an explanation. I simply started packing that night. And within 2 weeks, I had disappeared from their lives completely. What happened next taught me that karma doesn't always need your help. Sometimes it works perfectly fine on its own. I never planned to be my mother's caretaker. When Dad died 15 years ago, I was 25, just starting my career in architectural design at a promising firm in Chicago. I had an apartment with exposed brick walls and a view of Lake Michigan that made my college friends jealous. I was dating a guitarist who took me to underground shows and introduced me to people who made art for a living. My life was finally beginning. Then came the call. Mom had fallen down the basement stairs while carrying laundry. Nothing catastrophic, a broken ankle, some nasty bruises, but enough that she needed help for just a few weeks in our childhood home in Michigan. Those few weeks turned into months. The broken ankle healed, but then came her first mild stroke. Then arthritis that made the stairs in the 2-story colonial house a daily challenge. My job agreed to let me work remotely temporarily, a word that stretched like taffy until it lost all meaning. I broke up with the guitarist over a tearful Skype call. My Chicago apartment's lease expired, and I drove my few belongings back to my childhood bedroom. Meanwhile, my brother Kevin continued his charmed life on the West Coast. He called on holidays. Sent flowers on Mother's Day with cards signed from Kevin, Melissa, and the kids. He visited for exactly 4 days each Christmas, his wife barely concealing her boredom, their children regarding me as some strange ant creature who existed only in this house. "Kevin has his own family to worry about," Mom would say whenever I mentioned that perhaps he could help financially or at least visit more often. "He's very busy with his tech company. We shouldn't burden him." I wasn't bitter, not exactly. I understood that life had simply dealt us different cards. Kevin had always been the golden child, the boy who could do no wrong. I was the responsible one, the fixer, the steady presence. It was a role I'd accepted long ago, but I wasn't a complete martyr. I had made an agreement with Mom 7 years ago, when it became clear that my temporary stay had become permanent. When I realized I was approaching 40 with a stalled career and a romantic life that consisted mainly of awkward coffee dates with divorced men from my hometown. "I'll stay and take care of you," I had told her during a rare moment of assertiveness. "But I need some security for my future. Since I've put my life on hold, I need to know that half of this house will be mine someday." Mom had cried and hugged me. "Of course, sweetheart. This house is your inheritance too. I've always planned to split everything equally between you and Kevin." I believed her. I even spent $23,000 of my own savings to renovate the downstairs bathroom and kitchen to make them more accessible for her. I installed grab bars, lowered countertops, a walk-in shower. I took on freelance design projects in my limited free time to pay for it, working late into the night after Mom had gone to bed. The house transformed under my care. The Victorian colonial that had been slowly deteriorating became a home again. I painted the walls in warm neutrals that brightened the rooms, planted perennials that bloomed in rotation from spring through fall, repaired the original hardwood floors that Dad had always been so proud of. "You've made this place beautiful again," Mom would say, patting my hand. "I'm so lucky to have you." The truth is, despite everything, I loved that house. I loved the way light filtered through the stained glass panels on the front door in the late afternoon, creating kaleidoscope patterns on the entryway floor. I loved the built-in bookshelves in the living room and the window seat in what used to be my childhood bedroom. I even loved the creaky third step on the staircase that had announced my teenage attempts at sneaking in past curfew. So when Mom's doctor diagnosed her with early-stage dementia last year, I wasn't entirely surprised when Kevin suddenly became more involved. The phone calls increased. The visits extended. He started asking detailed questions about Mom's finances, her will, the house. Just making sure everything's in order, he explained when I questioned him. I worry about you both. I should have seen it coming. But I was too busy researching memory care facilities, adjusting Mom's medications, and grieving the slow loss of the sharp-witted woman who had raised me, to notice the trap being set. The lawyer was Kevin's idea. Mom needs to get her affairs in order while she's still legally competent, he explained. It's for her protection. For all of us. I agreed. Of course I agreed. It made perfect sense. The meeting was set for a Tuesday afternoon in early October. The trees along our street had just begun to turn amber and crimson, their reflection dancing on the hood of the sleek black Mercedes Kevin had rented from the airport. The lawyer, Kenneth Wilson, an old family friend who had also handled Dad's will, spread the documents across our dining room table. The same table where I'd helped Mom pay her bills every month for 15 years. Where I'd sat beside her during countless doctor's appointments conducted via Zoom during the pandemic. Now, Elizabeth, Kenneth said to Mom, using her formal name in that official voice that lawyers reserve for important moments. I understand you want to transfer ownership of the house to Kevin. The words didn't register at first. I continued sipping my coffee, making a mental note to pick up Mom's new prescription later that afternoon. Then Kevin cleared his throat. It's for tax purposes, Sarah, he said smoothly. Since I'll be taking over Mom's care eventually, it makes financial sense to do the transfer now rather than as an inheritance. I set my mug down so hard that coffee splashed onto the papers. Taking over her care? What are you talking about? Mom reached for my hand, her eyes not quite meeting mine. Kevin and Melissa have offered to move Mom into their guest house in California when I get worse, she said. Isn't that wonderful? I'll be near the grandchildren. I stared at her, then at Kevin, then at Kenneth, who was suddenly very interested in straightening the papers. But I couldn't finish the sentence. I thought we had a plan. I thought I hadn't wasted 15 years of my life. I thought you meant it when you said half the house would be mine. Kevin's smile never reached his eyes. This is best for everyone, Sarah. You can finally get back to your own life. And the California climate will be better for Mom's arthritis. I turned to Mom, waiting for her to correct this misunderstanding. To remind them of our agreement. To acknowledge my years of sacrifice. Instead, she signed the papers with that horrible flourish. The house, my home, my future, my security, was now entirely Kevin's. It didn't make a scene. I excused myself, went upstairs to my room, and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall I had painted morning mist gray 3 summers ago. I could hear their muffled voices downstairs, the occasional laugh from Kevin, the scrape of chairs as they concluded their business. Later that night, I asked Mom why she hadn't discussed this decision with me first. Oh, Sarah, she sighed, with that distracted look that had become more common lately. Kevin understands finance so much better than we do. He knows what's best. And anyway, you'll be free now. You can go back to Chicago, find a nice man, have a family of your own. 3 days later, I overheard the phone call that changed everything. Planning my departure was surprisingly simple. I'd been so consumed with caring for Mom that I'd accumulated very little of my own. My life fit into my Honda Civic with room to spare. I found a month-to-month rental in a city 4 hours away, close enough to return in an emergency but far enough to start fresh. Didn't tell them I was leaving for good. I simply said I was going to visit an old college friend for a few days. Mom barely looked up from her television show. Kevin had already returned to California, his mission accomplished, left enough prepared meals in the freezer to last 2 weeks. Detailed care instructions on the refrigerator. All of Mom's medications organized in the weekly pill container. The names and numbers of her doctors taped to the inside of the kitchen cabinet. Then I drove away, watching the house grow smaller in my rearview mirror until it disappeared completely. During those first few months, I ignored the increasingly frantic voicemails from Mom. "Sarah, honey, when are you coming home? I can't find my blue sweater. Sarah, the dishwasher is making that noise again. Can you call the repairman? Sarah, I miss you. Please call me back." I changed my number after 6 weeks. I found a job at a small architectural firm specializing in sustainable design. I made a few acquaintances at a local yoga studio. I adopted an elderly cat from the shelter who needed someone to give him a comfortable final chapter. Life wasn't exciting, but it was mine again. Then, almost exactly 1 year after I left, a text message arrived from an unknown number. "This is Diane from Sunset Valley Care Home. Your mother, Elizabeth Patterson, has been admitted here and is asking for you. Please contact us at this number." I stared at the message for a long time before searching for Sunset Valley Care Home online. It was a mid-tier nursing facility about 20 minutes from my childhood home. Nothing luxurious, but not terrible either, based on the reviews. I called the number. "Yes, Elizabeth Patterson was admitted 8 days ago," the receptionist confirmed. "Her son arranged it after selling their home. She's been asking for her daughter Sarah." I hung up without identifying myself. 3 more days passed before curiosity got the better of me. I created a new email account and sent a message to Kevin's work address, which was public on his company website. "Heard Mom's in a care facility now. What happened to the guest house in California?" His response came within hours. "The housing market was too good to pass up. Got 40% more than expected for the house. Mom's care is covered for at least 5 years with the proceeds. The dementia's progressing faster than expected, and Melissa doesn't want to deal with it. Guest house is being converted to Melissa's pottery studio. Mom's fine where she is." No apology. No acknowledgement of what he'd done. Just cold financial calculations. I sat with this information for several days. Part of me wanted to rush to Mom's side, to be the dutiful daughter again. Another part, a stronger part, remembered how easily she had discarded me, how willingly she had believed I would simply move on after 15 years of caregiving, how she had laughed about my naivety with her sister, thought about karma, about reaping what you sow, about the beds we make for ourselves. Finally, I drove to Sunset Valley Care Home on a Tuesday afternoon. I didn't sign in at reception. I knew from the website that residents gathered in the common room for afternoon activities at 2 p.m. I simply walked in with a delivery person and found a seat in the corner of the large, institutional room that smelled of industrial cleaner and cafeteria food. It took me several minutes to spot her among the wheelchair-bound residents arranged in a semicircle around a young woman leading a music therapy session. Mom had lost weight. Her hair, which I had faithfully colored chestnut brown every 6 weeks, was now completely gray and cut in an unflattering blunt style. She was wearing clothes I didn't recognize, a pink sweatsuit that she would have disdained in her previous life, but it was her expression that truly shocked me. The proud, often critical woman who had dominated our household looked vacant. Lost. Her hands plucked restlessly at the blanket across her lap as she gazed without interest at the woman playing guitar. A nursing assistant approached her with a tissue, gently wiping drool from the corner of her mouth. Mom didn't even react. I watched for nearly an hour, unnoticed in my corner. I saw how the staff treated her kindly but hurriedly, the way you'd expect in an understaffed facility. I saw how she ate her snack mechanically, dropping crumbs on her sweatshirt. I saw how she stared longingly whenever the door to the garden opened, but made no move to go outside. When another resident had a coughing fit that drew all the staff attention, I approached her wheelchair. "Hello, Mom," I said quietly, her eyes, clouded with confusion, gradually focused on my face. Recognition dawned slowly, like a faint light growing stronger. "Sarah?" Her voice was thin, uncertain. "Is it really you?" I nodded, maintaining a careful distance between us. You left me, she whispered, her eyes suddenly clearing. In that moment, she was fully present, the mother I remembered. You just disappeared. Yes, I agreed. I did. Kevin sold the house, she continued, each word precise and deliberate, as though she'd been rehearsing them. He said I'd be living with him and the children. But he brought me here instead. He doesn't visit. I know. Her hand reached for mine, trembling. I'm sorry, Sarah. I should have given you the house. You were the one who stayed. You were the one who cared. I looked at her outstretched hand but didn't take it. Yes. I was. Please take me home, she begged, tears filling her eyes. I don't belong here. I want to go home. The home she spoke of no longer existed. Some other family lived there now, probably repainting my carefully chosen colors, replacing the accessible fixtures I had installed, planting different flowers in the garden beds I had tended. There is no home anymore, Mom, I said gently. Kevin sold it. Then take me to your home, she pleaded. I'll be good. I won't be a burden. I thought about my small one-bedroom apartment. About the fragile peace I had constructed. About the years stretched ahead of me, once again defined by caregiving and sacrifice. Thought about her laughter on the phone that day. Sarah's always been so naive. I thought about Kevin in his California mansion with his perfect family and his 40% profit, while our mother sat in a budget care facility wearing clothes she hated. Thought about karma, and whether I wanted to be part of its machinery. I need to go now, I said finally, standing up. Sarah, please. Her voice rose, drawing glances from the staff. Don't leave me here. I'm your mother. I leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead, breathing in the unfamiliar institutional shampoo that had replaced her signature Chanel No. 5. Goodbye, Mom, I whispered. As I walked away, her cries followed me down the hallway. I signed the visitor log on my way out, not as her daughter, but as Sarah Jenkins, community volunteer. A fictional person who had briefly brightened a resident's day. In the parking lot, I sat in my car for a long time, watching the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawn of Sunset Valley. A different person might have felt guilt or remorse. A better person might have gone back inside, filled out the paperwork to become her emergency contact, arranged regular visits, perhaps even taken her home eventually, started the engine instead. The next morning, I walked into my boss's office and proposed a radical sustainable housing concept I'd been developing privately for months: affordable, accessible homes specifically designed for elderly residents who wanted to age in place with dignity. Homes with all the features I had painstakingly installed for my mother, plus innovative additions I'd researched during my late-night design sessions. I think there's a huge market for this, I explained, spreading the preliminary sketches across his desk. And it's personally meaningful to me. 3 years later, our firm's Independence Series homes have won multiple design awards and are being built in communities across the Midwest. I lead the division now, with a team of passionate architects who share my vision. Kevin sends a Christmas card each year with a picture of his perfect family in front of their perfect house. He never mentions Mom. I don't know if he visits her. I don't know if she's still alive. What I do know is this: sometimes the greatest act of self-preservation is walking away. Sometimes silence speaks louder than arguments ever could. And sometimes, the house you need to build is the one inside yourself, brick by brick, until you're strong enough to withstand any storm. Still think about her on quiet nights when rain taps against my windows. I wonder if she understands now what she threw away. I wonder if Kevin ever feels a moment's remorse as he lives in the house that, wait. He doesn't live in our house. He sold it for a 40% profit and put Mom in a care facility. So I guess we both lost our home in the end. The difference is, I found a way to build new ones. Not just for myself, but for others who deserve to age with dignity in spaces designed with love. And that, I think, is the best revenge, to create something beautiful from the ashes of betrayal. If this story resonated with you or you've experienced similar family betrayal, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to walk away from toxic family dynamics? What helped you rebuild your life afterward? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful first-person narratives every Wednesday. Your support helps us continue sharing these important stories.